Hello, my name is LaShonda Prim. I'm a transformational speaker, author, and entrepreneur, and also a U.S. Army veteran. First, I would like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be before you on today and share something so deeply personal. What I'm about to share is not just about an illness, it's not just about struggle, it's about my resilience, my identity, and my hope. When most people looked at me, they see my smile, they see my strength, they might even see some confidence in there and my accomplishments. However, what they don't actually see is the hidden battles that I fight every single day, living with chronic illnesses. One of those chronic illnesses is called dysautonomia, and the other is non epileptic seizures. But before I get into that story, before I was ever a patient or even dealing with the military, I was a mother. At the age of 16, I got pregnant with my oldest son and I gave birth to him at 17. Now, just as the enemy loves to do when you make a mistake, he tries to keep you in that circle. And he started telling me that I was not college material and I felt like I was not good enough. And who was going to watch my baby anyway? So I decided that I was going to go to cosmetology school. And I did cosmetology school for about a year and a half. And then I graduated. Once I graduated, I quickly came to the realization that I still need to have things like medical insurance, and I wasn't sure how to go about doing that. But I also needed something that was called a paycheck, more like a constant paycheck, right? So you picking up what I'm putting down, right? So this was how my journey actually began as a soldier. Now, at the age of 19, I made a decision that would ultimately change my life. I joined the United States Army. Like many young people, I was full of determination and grit and a desire, a strong desire to leave home. But I really wanted to serve something greater than myself. But the Army gave me discipline. It taught me resilience and it gave me a sense of family. It also taught me that what it meant to, push through when things got hard and to keep going when you felt like you wanted to stop and to stand tall even when the weight on your shoulders felt extra heavy. So for 5 years, this was my mindset. This was my identity. I was a soldier. I was a leader. I was a teammate. But most of all, I had to remember that there were some battles that you will never be trained to fight. And this was one of those times that I just did not have the discipline to do it. During my time in service, my body began to betray me, y'all. Yes. And I could not explain what it felt like. I would get dizzy. I would get lightheaded. My heart would race. Just for no reason at all. I experienced like having blackouts all the time and nobody knew why. And I would have seizures and it didn't look like your typical seizures. So the doctors eventually diagnosed me with a condition called vasovagal syncope, which is an overreaction of my nervous system pretty much. It's a sudden drop in the blood pressure and heart rate. And on top of that, I was having convulsions with it, okay? These convulsions or seizures, they actually looked like epilepsy, but the triggers were different. The hardest part wasn't just the symptoms, it was the uncertainty, the frustration, and the feeling of being in a situation that I could not control. And trust me, I was always used to having control. Eventually, the Army made a decision to medically discharge me and let me go. And when I tell you, walking away from the uniform that I wore with pride was one of the hardest moments in my life. I remember calling home and I was explaining to my mom, what was happening and how I was having these episodes. And I just felt like a failure, like my future and my plan was taken away. And pretty much, who am I without the plan? Okay. And my mother told me, she said, listen, no one is going to think that you didn't do what you were supposed to do. So come on home. So that gave me a sense of reassurance. But this was the moment that the real battle was really starting, not just on the outside, but within me as well. You see, not only was I now faced with the decision to do what to do with my career, I also had to deal with the decision of what I was going to do with my marriage as well. I mean, a broken marriage. At this point, I was now a mother of two in a broken marriage and trying to figure out if I wanted to save it or I wanted to just let it go. And that decision of living life after the military became a lot harder and required a lot of strategic planning. So I decided, like most people do, if one thing works, then I'll use that. And that'll make my decision on the next decision. So I said, well, if I got this civilian job while I was stationed in Germany, then I would just go ahead and stay. And that must meant that I'm supposed to work on my marriage at that time. And I realized that that was not going to happen. And I ended up moving back to South Carolina. And could you just imagine fainting and nobody know what's going on? Your heart's racing. It's like you ran a marathon when you just standing up and that's it. Okay. You might have a faint or people see you having a seizure in public. And I'm telling you, it was hard. That's exactly what happened. All of these things were happening to me now as a civilian, and it was a result of me making that decision. I faced so many disbeliefs and judgment from like doctors and people who I worked with because they thought I was shamming or not doing what I was supposed to be doing, not knowing that my struggle really was invisible. They were real, okay? Now being outside of the military, I had to adjust to having this invisible illness that very few people knew about or really even understood, to be honest. But I also had to adjust to civilian life. Imagine fainting without a warning, or imagine your heart racing and you feel it in your chest like it's going to pop out. It's almost like you ran a marathon. Okay, that's the only way I really can describe it. Or you're getting dizzy all the time, seizing in public and feeling like the stare of people who don't know you at all and they're just wondering what happened. Like, that became my new reality. I faced so many issues and so many problems. So many people did not believe me. The doctors didn't believe me. I faced judgment from friends and family and co-workers who couldn't understand what I was dealing with. I faced loneliness, knowing that my struggles were invisible, but they were very real. Some people, I guess they even thought I was a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like, crazy, crazy. Like I was making this up, making myself pass out. And these particular illnesses, I don't know how they would think that, but they did. Okay. So I couldn't blame them because they didn't understand. Then there were days I asked myself, why me? There were nights that I literally cried myself to sleep, wondering if I'd ever get my old life back. And honestly, there were moments that I wanted to give up. I just have to be honest. But then I remembered that I was resilient, okay? That I survived boot camp, that I survived not one, but two deployments, okay? And I had proven that I could fight battles very well. This one just looked a little different. So I had to think a little different. I learned to advocate for myself. I tried to learn everything that I could about my condition, only to find out that there was still so much more. I learned that I had a medical condition called dysautonomia and non-epileptic seizures. Dysautonomia is when the autonomic nervous system cannot control things like your blood pressure or your heart rate. It just simply does not work properly. Okay. It's not functioning right. And non-epileptic seizures, they look like epilepsy, but they were triggered differently. If I could explain this in a better way, I would say that when you have epilepsy, it's the misfiring in the brain. However, mine was more of a stress induced type of seizure. So just imagine it being unpredictable and just so exhausting trying to explain. Now, I knew that I needed to learn how to do things for myself now, and even on my own, but even if nobody believed me, I was still going to do it anyway, okay? No one could see really what I was going through on the inside. And finally, I found some doctors who listened and they learned, and I leaned in for the support that I was getting from my family. And then even later on, I was able to get a service dog, y'all. If y'all know me, you know I did not do dogs, okay? But Snow has been such a big help to me, and she helps me with staying happy a lot, okay? So I learned to rewrite my own story. I realized that I wasn't just a soldier or just a patient or just a mom. I was still me, and I was still strong. And I was still a determined woman who could use her story to inspire others. And that's what I plan on doing. That mindset shift definitely didn't erase the hard days. I still have the dizziness, and they come every single day, y'all. I still have the seizures. They come almost every 2 months, sometimes every month. Almost daily, I am fatigued and I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. And sometimes, even doing things like just talking is a task for me. But what I am going to say is that even when things get hard, I still know that I can do it. Now, on top of having Snow, I just have to go back and share something with you all and how important it is to have someone that can advocate with you, not for you, but with you, okay? Because the one thing that I did have was a husband that said enough is enough, and we're going to figure out what's going on with her right now, because I am not going to continue to go through this over and over again, just hearing y'all say that, oh, it's just this or it's just that, but it's nothing we can do. So because of his determination and his tenacity, guess what? We got diagnosed, okay? So I just continue to rewrite my story, and I realized that I wasn't just a mom, a soldier, or a wife, or a patient. I was still me, okay? Nothing was wrong. I just had to live life a little differently, that's all. And now I could use everything that I've learned and inspire others. That mindset shift definitely didn't erase the hard days. I still have the dizziness, the dizzy spells. They come and they go as the temperature changes. I still have seizures. I still have the fatigue, and it weighs me down often. And don't even get me started on the brain fog, y'all. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to say in the moment. And even when I have to do speaking engagements, it's really hard for me because sometimes I don't remember what I'm going to say. But now, instead of asking myself, why me, or why did this happen to me, I can honestly answer it and say that I use it to raise awareness now, to inspire resilience, to show that there's always hope, and to show others also that just because we got this invisible illness, it doesn't mean that we're invisible. So guess what? We got work to do, and I'm ready for you to get started, okay? So don't give up, because I had two choices. And one was I could have let my diagnosis define me, or I could rise above it and redefine myself. I chose the second. I chose to rise above it and redefine myself. I learned that it was okay to rest without guilt. I learned to adapt instead of giving up. I learned that even with my husband opening car doors, okay, that I didn't have to feel less independent because somebody wanted to do something nice for me. You see, these seizures tried to take everything from me. Dysautonomia tried to take everything from me, but I reclaimed my purpose. I decided to turn my story into a testimony, y'all. A story that proves that you can still live, you can still dream, you can still thrive, even when your body does not want to cooperate, okay? Now, life will always hand you battles that we never see coming, okay? That's just life. But some of those battles we can fight head on, and others we will just have to learn with. I really didn't choose dysautonomia. Well, I didn't choose dysautonomia, and I certainly did not choose non-epileptic seizures. I did not choose to be medically just discharged from the military at such a young age, but what I did choose was not to let my diagnosis define me. And so I choose to rise. I choose to speak out. I choose to live with purpose. So, to anyone that's listening today, whether you're facing an illness or grief or any type of setback, any type of uncertainty that you might be going through, this is your time. Your struggle will never make you weak. That struggle is really your strength, and it's really the fire that forges it, okay? So I may not be able to wear the uniform anymore, but I'm still a fighter, and so are you. And just know that your struggles was never meant to disqualify you from anything, okay? You can still live a life of purpose because that struggle prepared you for what your next is. You have hope and you have strength. You're unstoppable and you have determination to keep going. And if I can rise through this and above it, then I believe that the battles you're fighting, you can rise through it and you can rise above it too. So if you take anything from my story today, I want you to know that this is your time. Stand up, fight, advocate, thrive. You can do this. Remember that resilience and hope, it all belongs to you, okay? This is a battle that you were already prepared for. So just know that you are the only one that can win it. So until the next time that I get to speak with you again, remember that no one can do you better than you. So be great at who you have been called to be. And remember, resilience and hope is your portion. Thank you.